Well, good evening, listeners. You're listening to Lament of Hope podcast, and I'm your host, Danielle Richardson. And I am so honored today to get to speak with Abbie Stockard. She is Miss America 2025. I've never actually gotten to speak to anyone who's participated in this pageant, let alone win it. And so it's so neat to get to connect with her. She was just crowned literally a little over a month ago, and she's already started her tour of advocacy and humanitarian work. Before she was crowned, she was actually a senior at Auburn University getting her degree in pediatric nursing. And she just, in reading her bio and what I could of her story, she seems to really have a heart for people and really wants to use this time as Miss America to advocate for humanitarian concerns like cystic fibrosis, as well as just being a voice of hope for people, especially in this time when, I mean, the world is just, there's so much going on in the world and it's hard. And she hopes to be a light in a way through this role. And so I wanted to, first of all, Abbie, thank you so much for taking the time on this very busy tour to talk with me.
Of course. Thank you for having me, Danielle. I'm happy that I could be a part of this.
So, Abbie, I wanted to ask you kind of to start out, was this something you ever dreamed of doing? Like, because I know you were Miss Alabama in 2024 and now you're Miss America, but did you always want to do something to do with a pageant, or how did it kind of work out that this is what you ended up doing in
Yeah,
college?
well, honestly, no. I never thought that I would ever become Miss America. I did not grow up competing in pageants. I remember watching Miss Alabama and Miss America every year in the den with my mom, and we always had a great time watching, but I just never thought that would be me. Honestly, I didn't think that I was overly gifted in any specific area. I didn't think that there was anything super special or outstanding about me. And then you look at these girls on the TV screen, and as a little girl, you just think they are everything. And so I would always say that I just didn't really have the time to get involved, and I didn't grow up doing it. So I had the stereotype that I wouldn't perform well because I wasn't taught at a young age how to do pageants. It wasn't until my freshman year at Auburn University I got involved and I did my first preliminary. So my parents are divorced. I have a twin brother at Auburn with me, and then I have a little sister who is now a freshman at Auburn, and college is very, very expensive. And I saw at the time my mom was working 4 jobs to help provide for us as well.
Wow.
My dad was working really hard too, but I specifically saw how much my mom was sacrificing for us, and I was just looking for a way to help relieve that financial burden. And the Miss America organization is a scholarship program. And so I saw that there was Miss Auburn University the next weekend, and the winner would get a full year of free tuition. So I entered completely on a whim, having absolutely no idea what I was doing. To anyone's surprise, I did not win. But I really, really loved it, so much so that I decided to sign up for the preliminary in Birmingham the next weekend. Ended up winning it. That became my first local title. I would then go on to compete in Miss Alabama for the next 3 years. And on my third try, I took home the title of Miss Alabama. And then the best part about all of it was I was able to acquire over $89,000 in tuition scholarships. So I
Wow.
relieve a lot of student loans that we had to take out. And when I do go back to Auburn, I'll get to graduate completely debt free, which is just, a huge blessing and so helpful for me and my family. But I think it is pretty cool because it just shows, I counted myself out before I became Miss Alabama, and I also counted myself out going to Miss America. If anyone talked to me, I would say there's absolutely no way I'm gonna win. My goal is just to get top 11. And so everyone was so shocked when I won just because I had told everybody, I don't know, like this is like the best of the best. I'm just gonna go be Abbie, be me, have fun, and see what happens. And turns out that's what people admire. They're not looking for someone who's trying to conform to how you're supposed to do pageants the right way. They're just looking for someone who is going to be authentically themselves throughout the whole process. And that is something that I will continue to embody throughout this year, always staying what I've kind of called authentically Abbie.
Yeah, that's amazing. And were you able to get enough tuition for your brother and your sister as well?
Well, it only applies to me, but
Okay.
my brother is actually in nursing school at Auburn as well. So he'll be graduating this spring and he wants to go to CRNA school, which is to become a nurse anesthetist. And we actually had a talk from someone from UAB who was looking at maybe giving a spot to both me and my brother to go and pursue a more advanced degree.
Wow. And
Mhm.
that would be paid for both of you.
For me, yes,
Oh, for you. Okay.
my scholarship money will actually carry over because I have enough that would then go on beyond just graduating with my BSN at Auburn.
Wow. What gave you a heart, particularly for pediatric nursing, that you want to do?
So I have always loved being around kids. I was a member of the Tiger Paws dance team at Auburn, and so a big part of what we did was community appearances that involved children a lot of times. And I just think I clicked with kids right off the bat. And last year I got to do my pediatric clinical rotation at Children's Hospital. And while it is a very, very tough profession to go into, honestly, I had such a great sense of fulfillment when I was giving of myself to these little kids. And so that is why I want to go into pediatrics and, go through both the highs and the lows of getting to take care of children.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is it hard? Do you mean specifically with children who have like cancer and just really,
Yes.
yeah,
Hmm.
okay. So we're
Yeah.
not talking about just like a pediatric doctor where kids would come for checkups.
So what I'm hoping to do is specialize in the intensive care unit. Um,
Oh, wow.
Pediatrics, and that's just it's very tough because these kids are fighting for their life in the hospital, and you can do as much as you can, but sometimes you just have to let things take its course, and that can be very tough. But how fulfilling it is and rewarding it is when you get to watch a child overcome that and grow up and continue living like a healthy and a strong life beyond that.
What do you think was the hardest thing you saw while you were there?
It's just I think back to my childhood, and the Lord blessed me in so many ways that I was healthy for pretty much all of my childhood, and it's just so hard seeing kids that maybe they can't even talk. They are hooked up to oxygen, just lying helplessly in a hospital bed because that's not what kids are supposed to be doing. You want them home and outside playing with friends. And so your heart just feels for them because you want them to be able to experience all of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. What is your, because that's, I mean, like you said, that's going to be very mentally hard, I would think, especially for a woman in the sense that, I mean, and I'm going to speak for myself, I think there's, for women, a very motherly instinct, a very maternal, empathetic instinct, which is why so many women are nurses, so many women are counselors. There's just this desire to help.
Right.
Um,
Right. And I think a bunch of that actually, that instinct kind of was sparked for me at a really young age. So my entire platform is about cystic fibrosis. And for those who don't know, it's a genetically inherited disease. It is a chronic disease, a life-threatening one, and there currently is not a cure for cystic fibrosis. And I met my best friend when I was 9 years old. Her name's Maddie, and we have been inseparable since. We were both students at Auburn together, and I remember going to visit Maddie in the hospital, and at the age of 9, I had never really been exposed to a serious illness or condition in my life because I just never, my family was never super sick. But it wasn't until I went and saw Maddie that I recognized just how critical of a condition she was in with this disease. So I
mm,
think that's also where the pediatric nursing desire comes from because I saw Maddie laying in a hospital bed, but then I saw her grow from that. And now she's more healthy than she has ever been. She faced every single challenge with courage beyond her years of only being a little girl. And now she is thriving with this disease. They've come out with so many therapies that have significantly improved people's life expectancy with cystic fibrosis. And so
Mm.
that just gave me so much hope, but also sparked a fire in me at a young age that I needed to do something to help her and to help others that have cystic fibrosis or really just any chronic or life-threatening disease at all.
Yeah. For people who don't know what cystic fibrosis is, can you explain a little more in detail what that looks like?
Yeah. So you have a mutated gene. You're born with it. It's called the CFTR gene. And when it's mutated, it leads to a series of problems. It causes the buildup of thick and sticky mucus in your lungs, your digestive system, as well as your reproductive tract. It
Mm.
makes it very, very difficult for someone to breathe. So the therapies they have right now, one of them is called like a vest. It kind of looks like a life jacket that you were gonna like wear at the lake or the beach, and you do it every day, and it just vibrates, and it's supposed to shake your lungs and help unclog some of that mucus. Maddie also has to take enzymes before every meal or snack since there is mucus in your digestive tract, specifically your pancreas. It makes it harder for people with CF to digest their food. And then when it comes to the reproductive system, for men specifically, I think it's 95% of men are infertile because of cystic fibrosis.
Oh,
So
wow.
a lot of people don't know that at all, but because of the advancements in therapy that they have made, the life expectancy about 10 years ago was in the 30s, and now in only, less than a decade, people are living past their 60s and are able to have a full life, which is just absolutely incredible. There are more people, there are more adults now living with cystic fibrosis than there have ever been, and that's because of these therapies. They're able to grow up and they're actually able to get married and start a family.
Wow. And I'm guessing too, though, I mean, if they caught something like the flu or the cold, I mean, that could be death,
Yeah,
potentially,
they
couldn't it?
they have a weakened immune system. And so I saw
Yeah.
just how much it impacted Maddie when, COVID-19 happened. She was stuck in her house for weeks on end. None of us could see her just because a lot was unknown at the time. And because she already had a suppressed immune system, she couldn't risk getting anything like that because it would drastically impact her ability to breathe and fight CF.
Yeah. That is just, I don't know if I've personally met anyone actually who has cystic fibrosis, but I have several friends who have chronic illness,
Mhm.
and I know that for them, it has been such an encouragement to see more and more people talk about chronic illness as like
Right,
something that they live with, because
right.
it really does change a lot your life, and sometimes it's invisible to other people because you look okay, but it's really, it's so hard to live with a chronic illness of any kind. And so
I know. Well,
I
I,
won't, oh, go
oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say that's another reason I'm just so excited and honored that I won the title of Miss America because it is so much more than like looking pretty and wearing a crown. It's about using your voice and the ability to truly make an impact. And for me, my main focus is cystic fibrosis, and the Lord has opened doors for things that I never thought I'd get to do. I mean, I had a talk with the CEO of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation last week talking about how we can work together to amplify my impact and further spread awareness and fundraising participation across the nation for cystic fibrosis. And it's been so rewarding already because I only knew maybe 4 to 5 people with cystic fibrosis because it's so rare. And in only the 3 weeks of being Miss America, it's crazy how every appearance I've been to, I've met someone new that is either related to someone with CF or has cystic fibrosis. And it just shows me that, the Lord really was in the details with this. It really is more than just this crown. I get to invest in people and really,
Hmm.
change the what am I saying? Like it changed the environment of cystic fibrosis and letting more people know what it's about. And just, further spreading awareness about it.
Well, it's being, I mean, and scripture says this too, it's being a voice for the voiceless in a sense, right? Because it's
Right.
something where not a lot of people talk about it. Like I know nothing of those facts you just
I
gave me.
know. I know.
Um, I wanted to ask you, there's people in my life, and to be honest, when I was younger too, I would look at these pageants. I know you were saying when you were young, you thought these girls were everything, like they just look so beautiful. I think in a way, I looked at it as like, oh, they're so beautiful. This is just such a terrible thing. Like all these ladies are just out there and they're like all so beautiful and nobody looks like that. And how is this even important? And I've had so many people over the years say, that a Miss America pageant is not important, that it degrades women, that women don't get a chance to, it doesn't really uplift them in any way. It actually makes them seem like objects, all these things. And I wanted to ask you, because I'm sure you've heard all of those. Um, what for you, how do you think Miss America actually empowers women? Because I mean, we've been talking obviously about all you've been doing for humanitarian causes, which is huge. Um, but in your own words, what is it? How do you feel like what I'm doing is actually empowering to me? This isn't something where I feel like I'm less of a woman because I'm doing Miss America pageants and I'm part of Miss America and all of that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Getting involved in this organization has completely changed my life just by making one little decision to try a local preliminary. This organization has significantly empowered me. Before I started competing, I wasn't really sure what my purpose was or who I wanted Abbie to be. I kind of just had the thought that I was one person. What could I really do to make a difference or leave some type of meaningful impact? And it wasn't until I started competing and getting involved in this organization that I realized that my voice truly does carry weight. When you compete, every contestant is required to have a service initiative, and mine is cystic fibrosis. And so the biggest thing that this organization has empowered me to do is to step out of my comfort zone and be bold and don't be afraid to ask for what you need. I was able to spearhead my very own fundraiser last year, and it took over 9 months of planning. Never in my life did I imagine I would put on my own fundraiser. I mean, I'm a nursing student. I don't know how to event plan, but I was able to raise over $190,000 in one night. And that is because of this organization empowering me to go for it and realizing that even though this dream seems really big, by making small, tangible steps and small little goals that I can accomplish one step at a time, I can accomplish that dream. And I did. It was the largest fundraiser that has ever been put on in the state for cystic fibrosis. And that will probably for the rest of my life be one of my biggest accomplishments ever. I used to struggle a lot with confidence. I know it may look like it on the outside, but I still do sometimes. And I feel like it wasn't until I started competing, it helped me establish a foundation of confidence, but also helped me build self-esteem in myself. Uh, Public speaking terrified me, but when I got in this organization and wanted to do more with my platform, you have to be able to speak. And so it caused me to get it out of my comfort zone and have those appearances where I was speaking and asking for different things for cystic fibrosis, talking about the scholarship money, and I was able to become more comfortable and confident in my ability to speak in front of large crowds. I wouldn't have done any of that if it wasn't for this organization. And that's what I'm hoping to show this year as Miss America. Um, I want to be a light and I want to be a role model and inspiration, but I want to show young women that one decision to join this organization truly will change your life. You don't have to fit a certain mold to find your thrive in this organization. Everybody has a story, everybody has their own struggles, and this is a platform where you can come and you can be comfortable and sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna ask you Because I mean, I've struggled with this and I'm just a podcaster, but for you, I mean, who constantly in the limelight, do you find it even harder now? Because now you're right, you have this huge platform to speak. You can say anything, really, and you can persuade maybe a lot of young women, and
Yeah.
you can be a voice for the voiceless, but that's a huge responsibility. And on top of that, there's also, like you said, being you means you may say something that someone's not going to like, right?
Right.
And because you're in the limelight, it's going to be different how you're going to hear that criticism than I would. You know, maybe I'm going to get a mean YouTube comment every now and then for something, but for you, like the criticism you could have could be very public and very hurtful. And so I wanted to ask you, because this is something I still struggle with, is being authentic, whether it's my faith, whether it's my opinion on something, and I think it's important that I say it. Um, how do you overcome that fear of like, what are people gonna think of me? Like, yes, I'm Miss America, I won this title, but people can still be very nasty and mean. And when we say that we accept all speech, that's not always true, right? There's always something you're gonna say that not everyone's gonna like. And you have to take a side at some point because you are advocating for things you believe in, and you're going to have to say something at some point that someone's not going to like. How does that, like, I can't imagine that pressure and being true to that. Like, how have you, even just in this past month, how are you overcoming that and being like, I have to be honest. I have to say what's true. I have to say things in love and all of this. But I'm thinking, I don't know if I could do what you would do because I just feel like I would fail, you
Yes,
know?
no, you could. Listen, I'm like you. I am a people pleaser at heart. I never want to disappoint anyone, and I never not want to fulfill the expectations that someone has of me. But honestly, if you are appointed or win a position where you are in the limelight and you are almost an influencer, you're constantly going to be looked at. People are going to constantly make opinions about you. And at the end of the day, there's just some things that you cannot control. And
Yeah.
I've already seen, like in 3 weeks, I've seen some really hurtful comments. And it's hard because these people don't actually know who I am. They don't know my testimony or my story or my struggles. And so I've tried to just disregard that because I know that I am here on purpose and for a purpose. There have been so many moments where I have seen the Lord's presence. I mean, He has had His hand in all of these details. And so I've had to restrict myself sometimes, whether that's getting on social media and reading those comments, I've had to stop and put my phone down because if anything, it's just draining and it's overwhelming to read, and it's not
Mhm.
going to help Abbie be her better self. And so I've had to stop reading that because that does not matter. And I'm going to control what I can control. That is just staying true to who I am and always just looking for ways to love those around me and just continue serving the community and being intentional with people at every single one of these appearances I get to do across the nation. That's what I can control. And I think back to what is it? It's the Bible verse Esther 4:14, for such a time as this.
Yeah.
Like from when my faith gets involved, I just have this overwhelming sense of peace, and I don't care what people say about me because I know that the Lord is going to guide all of my steps from here on out. And if I just continue um, following, following His rules and what He has for my life, it's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, you just have to control what you can control and make sure that you are loving those around you because that's what He calls us to do.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you too, like, obviously, as believers, we're called to share the gospel, and you're in this limelight where you have so many opportunities to share the gospel, but at the same time, you have to really balance that with your role because as Miss America, you also can't just advocate completely for Christianity, you know, and be like, you know, believe in Jesus and that's all you say. So it's like, how do you balance that when you're like, okay, this is an opportunity where I could talk to someone about Christ and be loving toward them and share the truth, or this is a moment when this is not something that I think would be appropriate at this moment in time. How do you kind of balance that as a public figure?
hmm So my role as Miss America is to be the face and the voice of this organization, but also I consider my role is to also shine the light of Jesus for those around me. Miss America has it's not necessarily what I say to people, but it's how I make people feel.
I
And
see.
that is why when I do these appearances and have those conversations, I want people to feel seen. I want them to feel heard, valued, and appreciated and be reminded that they are worthy. And so my prayer is that when I do travel around, that is the Lord speaking through me when I do talk to these people who aren't believers. And I want them to look at me and they're like, you know why she's so joyful? She's so radiant. That is because the Lord is working within her and it shows wherever she goes.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. What have you found to be the hardest thing in this past month about being Miss America?
Well, I'm a perfectionist and so that can be hard to work through sometimes because I set very high expectations for myself and you prepare so hard for something and when you reach it you think like why would I ever worry or get insecure because I've already accomplished it, I've done the thing. And it's been hard to navigate through the fact that although I am Miss America, I still have had moments where I don't feel like I'm enough for this role, I don't feel qualified for it. Sometimes I'm like, Lord, why did you choose me? I mean, these other 51 girls who I competed against, they're stronger at speaking than I am. Like they would have done such a better job. And so I know that's the devil right in my ear telling me these lies because he chose me for a reason for this position. But it's just remembering to not believe those. Um, I won by being authentically Abbie. And so anytime I get those thoughts, I just have to squinch them before they continue to grow. And this is an opportunity for me to grow. Yes, I do get insecure sometimes about my speaking or did I do this right? Did I say this right? But I'm not going to be perfect. No one is. So this is an opportunity to grow and to become a better person and be equipped with skills that will carry weight beyond the years of wearing a crown. I also feel like in these 3 weeks, I feel like I've kind of had to grow up a little bit. I was just a college student last year, and now I am flying everywhere. I'm staying in hotel rooms by myself and it's just me. Uh, I'm experiencing more solitude than I ever have in my life. And I'm
Mm.
learning that that's not always the best for me, but it's given me a lot of time, idle time to just sit and think. And so I'm trying to use that time that I always wished for last year, but never had time for because I was so busy with nursing. But now the Lord is giving me that time, and I'm trying to figure out okay, how can I use this and make this something that's productive, that's going to better myself, better my headspace as I continue traveling and doing all these different appearances and speaking?
How do you rest when you can? Because like I know you're mentioning there's this solitude and there's a difference I found just personally with it's quiet and I actually feel quiet inside, restful. So for you, how are you finding a way to rest your body and your mind from all the busyness that you're doing?
Honestly, I feel like I have gotten a lot of rest, surprisingly. I have dedicated 30 minutes of the day to have quiet time, and that is something that I like to prioritize because I feel just so at peace and calm whenever I do it. I try to do it in the morning, but also sometimes at night too. I've been reading a daily devotional. I put my phone down so that there's no technology, no distractions, and I just have time to sit and to pray. This helps me stay grounded. It's been the best way for me to prioritize my mental health. And so no matter what city I am in, that's something that I can easily do. And it really helps, especially before I go to sleep, to calm my mind so that I actually can go to sleep and get good quality sleep. Something else that I do a lot is I go on long walks. Love doing that. I also don't like to get on my phone, and I just try to just walk, stay quiet, look around, and think. And that's been really, really good for me to, clear my head and have a good mindset going forward.
Yeah. No, I love walks too. I think they're moving the body always helps, right? With your mental health, moving instead of just sitting and mulling sometimes
No,
is
it's not, that's not always great.
I was gonna ask you, why do you have to do it alone? Are you not able to take like family with you or anything like that? Or it's just so long a commitment that nobody could really do that?
Well, I'm really lucky that I actually get to spend time with my family when I don't have appearances. It wasn't always like that for Miss America back in the day. She would be in another city away from her family, and I am just very, very grateful that on the days that I don't have appearances, I do get to spend time with my people, which has been really, really good. I also love to talk on the phone, so even if I'm not with them, you can bet that I will be calling my mom on the phone multiple times a day as well as my friends. And so when I am home, I do get to I'll bring my mom along with me on some walks, but I do have an agent that goes with me to all of these appearances. So I'm not alone when I'm doing the appearances. And I'm working on getting my mom into some of these appearances because she wants to travel with me while I'm doing it because she's like, "You're only Miss America once. I got to figure out what new city I can go explore while you're doing your thing."
I was gonna say, can you really see the city while you're doing the appearance, or is it really quick that you don't really have the time?
It just depends on what the appearance is. Like when I was in New York a couple weeks ago, I didn't have anything until nighttime. And so that time is yours and you can do whatever you want with it. So I got to explore. My cousin actually goes to dental school in NYU, so I got to see him a little bit. It just depends. Sometimes they're really quick trips, so other times you'll have some a little bit of free time to explore.
Is there somewhere you're looking forward to going?
Oh, well, New York was definitely the top of my list, and I got to do that. I loved it. I've also never been to California, specifically like LA or Santa Monica, and I have appearance coming up at the end of March, and so I'll be going there, and I'm very, very excited just to see what it's all about.
Yeah, you get to go down. I mean, obviously, depending on where you're at, because there's been so much fire and destruction there now, but you get to go down one of those really long highways of like the 6 lanes. It's quite an experience.
Is that what's there? I didn't even know that.
Well, I know at least landing in Los Angeles when my husband and I got to the airport, it was funny because the only car that the rental place had available was like a Mustang convertible. And
Oh,
so they gave it to us to use for the same price as a normal car because they didn't have anything else. And so my husband put the top down because like this was his dream come true, for a guy that lives in
absolutely.
Virginia. Yeah, and like just let the wind sweep through. And there's like 6 lanes and it was at night and so you have the stars. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
Listen, as long as I'm not driving, I'd be
Yeah,
all.
exactly. I didn't want to drive.
Yeah.
Do you, I was gonna ask you, do you have like any insecurities about body image as you're posting pictures, as people are posting pictures of you? Is that something that's hard to like balance, what's healthy for you
hmm
as and then presenting a specific image to other people?
Yeah, I actually think probably one of the most pressing issues in our generation today is self-esteem and body issues. And I have experienced that. Uh, I think, many people, especially young women, feel as if they have to look like the models they see on Instagram or the influencers on TikTok or even in movies or TV shows in order to be considered beautiful. I've fallen in that self-comparison trap, and it truly is the thief of joy. But social media is such a false perception of reality. And I'll never forget, I had the opportunity to go to New York a little over a year ago to do runway modeling with Giovanni Fashions. They do this competitive program called Giovanni It Girl. And I was so shocked that I got selected because I had no experience at all. And we go to New York and I'm with like eight other girls. I mean, first of all, I stalked all of them on Instagram because I had to see, who I could be friends with. And then I get there and I like couldn't even figure out who some of them were because they looked so different in person than their social medias. Like they were unrecognizable um in person. And I was like, what do they do? And so I figured it out. We had moments where we'd like go put on these gowns and we'd go take pictures of each other to get content to post on social media. And I watched several girls take these pictures. They would upload them to an iPad and they had a stylist. They had apps that I had never even heard of. And they micro edited all these different features all
Wow.
of themselves, their face, their body, until they had what they considered a perfect image. And that is what they posted on social media. For me, it was very, very eye-opening, but it honestly helped with the self-esteem and body issues that I had been having because that was confirmation right there that what you see on social media is not real. It's not a
Mm.
true comparison of what they look like in person. And that helped me so much. And so it's so nice having this platform now also because I have experienced it too, and I can relate to other women that we have to stop conforming to what we consider is America's idea of beautiful. We have to start embracing our differences because that is truly when we are the most authentically beautiful. So that
Yeah.
was a good lesson for me to learn.
Well, I mean, I think that's I don't think I've met any woman who's never had insecurities about how she looks. And it's interesting what you say because I think culture says that at some points where they're like, be yourself, be comfortable. And then all you ever see is all of these expectations and these stereotypes. And women who may enjoy more masculine activities or who may, not wear specific clothes that are deemed more feminine feel like, what's wrong with me? And then it's the opposite way. If you're too girly, it's like, what's wrong with you? You shouldn't like all of that stuff. You should be more balanced. And I think just the stereotypes that we put on what it means for a woman to be a woman causes so much confusion and pain and hurt for so many people. And so I feel like it's very refreshing for you, especially as Miss America, because obviously you are very beautiful, getting to have that perspective of you want people to understand that, hey, like this in part is you have a team that helps you look the way you do when you have a big appearance, but like we're all normal humans here, and that's very important to remember.
Right. All right. I mean, it's so important to love yourself and also just remember that you are worthy. I mean, it is so important to just stay true to who you are because that is how you're going to experience true joy. You don't need to act a certain way or look a certain way in order to be considered beautiful. You are wonderfully and uniquely made just the way you are, and it's so important to not let your worth be tied to what the opinion of others may be.
Yeah, no, that's so true. Is there something about yourself that you've come to love that you didn't originally?
Oh man. I guess it's hmm. I guess it's like how deeply I care for people. I have a very, very big heart, and sometimes that has hurt me. When my parents got a divorce when I was little, it drug on for many years, and it was not your normal divorce. It had a lot of ups and downs, especially when it came to custody, and it hurt me so much because I was so trusting, I was so caring, I was all in. Um, and it ended up hurting me. And there was this time where I didn't trust anybody, and it took so much for me to be able to love or care for someone as deeply again. And I'm just so grateful I've gotten to the point now in my life where I am starting to trust people a little more. It takes a little bit of time for me, especially, to even use the word love, uh, because I have been hurt in the past. But I do think it's a good quality about myself that I do care deeply for people. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And sometimes you're gonna get hurt along the way, but I learned how to forgive and I learned how to grow and to work through that.
Yeah, that's so real. Because my parents divorced when I was 17, I think. Were you young? You were younger, right?
Yeah, I was.
So was it hard as a kid? Did you feel like you had to take sides with one parent or the other? Or,
Yes, it was very tough. And I also had to be the voice for my brother and my little sister because their coping mechanism is to shut down. And if anything was going to change, uh, someone had to speak up. And so that became me.
wow.
But it was tough, and there were moments in that time of my life I really didn't think that there would be a light at the end of the tunnel. And the reason that I am the way that I am today is because of that. But I also decided that my motto in life is choose joy. It's the lock screen on my phone. I have a little sticky note on my mirror and my car and my Instagram bio, and it's just because I was in such a dark place and I really did never think it'd get better. I was not joyful. I was very, very sad all the time. And I realized that, I could either succumb to this struggle and let it get the best of me, or I can rise above it and let this be a part of my testimony and use it to help other people who may be going through similar struggles. And so I choose joy every day because I'm not in that situation. The Lord has blessed me in so many ways, and it's another day. To use my voice, use my heart to truly impact and make a difference to those around me.
Yeah. Did you feel this was something I felt when that happened, and I still do. Do you feel or struggle with the idea of family? Like just that your family doesn't look exactly like I don't want to say perfect, but average, right? Mom, dad, kids.
Right.
And then you, hopefully someday, you get married and you have kids. And do you ever worry that you won't be able to, that you'll bring brokenness into that new home that you want to make, if that makes sense? Like you
Right.
want to make it, but you also are afraid of making it at the same time.
I think that I've worked through that brokenness and I have healed, but of course there still is that fear because of what I went through. I think I have put more pressure about the family that I want to have one day just because I so badly don't want it to end in divorce, and I don't want my kids to have to go through all the things that I did. And so it's caused me to be a little more hesitant about marriage and being selective of the person I want to marry just because I want everything to go right. And I just want it to be a family that stays together, all the way till the end. And so that
Yeah.
is a fear of mine, but it reaches the point where you can't let that fear uh, stop you from opening up and forming a relationship with someone. Of course, everybody's going to have fears, but then also remembering that all of that is in the Lord's hands. He has already planned out the rest of my life, and I can't worry about it. I can just continue uh, setting expectations and standards and letting him take care of the rest.
Yeah. I think it's so cool and neat that you have this period where you're Miss America, but you're also this is a period in your life when you're growing in all of your fears. And so it's very much like you're helping other people and encouraging them with their fears, but this is also territory for you growing as a person, which is just it's going to be really neat to see. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be able to, follow your entire life journey, but the fact just I wonder a year from now, how much you would have
I know.
grown. It's exciting. I mean, it's scary too, but I mean, that's just really exciting that you have that opportunity for
I,
like hard level growth.
I know I'm growing so much, and I decided that I need to start journaling it because I want to look back a year from now and I want to see how much I've grown, because you're right, it's only been 3 weeks and here I am like going through this season of being lonely, but also, you know, being a like public figure and feeling like overcrowded, but getting to talk to all these people that are super high up, like CEOs of organizations, and I'm just like feel like a little kid sometimes. Or my fear of speaking in public, but so much of this job is being able to speak and learning how to become more comfortable and confident in that. I mean, your girl never saw this coming at all. So I'm just excited to see how the Lord's going to keep using me because I surely didn't think that I was good enough for it. But here we are.
Well, I think, like you said, I mean, that's what makes I'm very happy that you're Miss America in the sense that, like, because you are representing women, right, in America, and you're very much like a human. You're like, I'm here and
Right.
I'm doing the job that I've been given to do, but I also don't feel cocky and that I've totally got this, and then that means that you're going to be very successful at what you're going to do because you're humble in that way.
Thank you.
Um, but, I want to thank you so much again, Abby. It's been such a gift to meet you, and I'm excited. I'm so excited to see the things that you're going to be able to do with this year. And congratulations. And it's just awesome that it's an inspiration to me as a woman to see you being able to use the gifts and talents God has given you to be able to use them for good. And you're even, despite how you feel and the fears and the loneliness and all of this, you're like, I'm going to do this because I care. I know God cares, and I want that to be what people see. And so I want to thank you so much for doing that, and obviously for taking the time to be on the podcast too.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for asking me all of those things. I mean, it was a lot of fun getting to talk about it and re honestly help me reflect a little more about what the Lord is teaching me in these 3 short weeks and how much growth I'm already experiencing since. So I appreciate you for having me, Danielle. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I'm glad. Well, uh, I guess Happy New Year, Abby, but also happy beginnings for a long year, a good year.
Thank you.
All right, bye, Abby.
Bye.